started the recording. Thank you. So اليوم غنشوفو like it's fourth or third course ديال third lecture ديال distributed systems, and today's lesson is gonna be about consensus algorithms and fault tolerance. Two really good concepts ديال distributed systems. Okay, so نبداو بواحد شويه واحد الريفريشر ديال الكاب ثيوري. I think شفنا maybe الكورس اللي فات ولا اللي قبل, but شفنا like some of the parts منها maybe. Cap theorem هي like كتقول لك basically you have CAP. C stands for consistency, which is واحد property ديال انه واحد distributed system يكون عنده the same view ديال data all at the same time على كاع distributed nodes ديالك. A is availability, I mean your system should be available most of the time and all the time. باش انه respond to requests. If your system doesn't respond to client requests, then it's not available. Partition tolerance هي الابيليتي ديال السيستم ديالك يسستيني partitioning, meaning إلا مثلا network like if you have n nodes النص ديالهم تفرقوا ولا في network والنص تفرقوا في network, your system should still be able to function. يقدر يكون حتى between different like components ديال السيستم ديالك. And what does cap theorem says is that you can't have CAP, like you can't have all of them at the same time. But most importantly في الكيس ديال ملي كتكون عندنا partition tolerance, you have to choose either between availability or consistency. So you can mean you can either be partition tolerance or available, or partition tolerance or consistency. In case like you really don't care about partition tolerance, you wouldn't care about cap in general, but this is what cap says. Do you have any questions about this before we move on? Because واقيلا هادشي غيكون شويه important. Feel free to raise your hand or just speak up. Otherwise I will assume no one has any questions. Okay, so distributed systems are very complicated. كيكون عندك بزاف ديال components, و the more they become the more they become like more complex, ولا كل ما زادوا كبروا كل ما. Okay, so we have a very good question which says like what is the difference between available and consistent? Two different things. Consistent هو system ديالك, your whole system it's mostly about the data ماشي serving. Like if you have a database, suppose بلي نتايا مثلا I don't know Gmail, إلا مشيتي كنتي خدام like I don't know في your laptop ودخلتي من ويندوز ما عرفت مشيتي ولا like suddenly مشيتي ل the other phone because you're connected to a different server, دخلتي الجيميل كتلقى not the same emails. علاش؟ because the system is not consistent, ماشي نفس الداتا فيه. the same thing database, إلا تكونيكتيتي للداتابيز من واحد instance كونيكتيتي من واحد different instance, ولا you try to get واحد information from one server and then try it from the other server, ما كتجيكش نفس الداتا, يعني ماشي consistent. availability هو السيرفيس ديالك اصلا الا ما كانش available مثلا ما كيريسبونديش على الريكويست. واش كاينه الداتا ولا ما كايناش it doesn't matter. واش consistent ولا ماشي consistent doesn't matter, ولكن ما كيجاوبش. بحال you try to access email like Gmail and it doesn't show you anything, كيطلع لك 404 ولا شي حاجه بحال هكا. that system is not available. Like 500 مثلا غادي يكون داك السيستم ماشي available. does it make sense? It's like two different concepts. ماشي it's like okay good gotcha. So let's go back to the thing, the introduction. So as I said, like the more like your systems grows, you connect more components, the more failures you will have. So مثلا like for example here I have front end, back end servers and storage systems, backup storage systems. Like you can see that for example I can have failures for front end applications like in my servers. I can have backend servers go down. It could be like a different component microservice. It could be like even the database can go down, or sometimes even links. You can have switches in your data centers go down, routers. You can have like internet cables كيتقطعوا across like كيكون days تدوز عليهم like ما عرفت shark or something and كيمشي لك like links. So حنا دونك عرفنا بلي يقدر يكونوا failures, different type of failures. What we want for distributed system is واحد ability to sustain هاد failures, which gets us to fault tolerance. Fault tolerance هي ability ديال system like to continue operating without interruption even when one or more components fails. يعني مثلا يقدر يكون هاد السيستم هذا you can see that even this backend server وهاد links are like are down. If I just get هاد front end server down, I can still serve with 1 and 4, and then my storage is still up because my backup will طايح. So that's what fault tolerance is. And of course fault tolerance is not about preventing failures, because failures are not gonna happen. ماشي حيت ما يمكنش تجي تلصق لي شي حاجه في I don't know في الضو باش ما يتقطعش. Yeah, you can do like some small stuff, ولكن تقدر تقطع لك الضو، تقدر تكون الماشين خدامه وتطيح، تقدر تكون I don't know you will just like link كيف ما قلت لك link ديال الانترنت داز عليه like عطو شارك وتقطع. You can do anything about that. What you want to do is be tolerant to faults, ماشي prevent them. You can try to prevent them as much as you can, but then غيجي شي واحد وغيورك على البريز بالغلط وغادي يطفي كلشي، داك السيرفيس مشى. Well, is it like having backups? Having backups is probably like it could be like one of the things you can do to باش تكون fault tolerant. مشات لك one database, you will have backups, and we will see these kind of things. But the fault tolerance is the whole concept. There are a lot of things you can do, because ماشي بالضرورة تكون related to storage, it could be related to many other things. Yes, يبقى operational, meaning guarantees ديال the service يكونوا mostly operational. So if your system is consistent, خصو يبقى consistent. إلا your system is available, should be available, خصو يكون available. Yeah, meaning the service يكون السيستم يكون باقي operational واخا يكون شنو مطرة like well ماشي شنو مطرة but most of the times ملي يكونوا عندك شي failures اللي كتقدر تانسيسيبيهم صافي you can still serve stuff. مثلا I don't know bank one database تفرقع, you don't want all the data to be blown away. But why we need fault tolerance? Because as I said, distributed systems are very complicated or very complex, or that's due to the nature they are distributed, or they have like more components, or that means like higher chance باش انهم يطيحوا. For example, I don't know, Facebook will have thousands if not tens of thousands of servers just to serve requests ديال users. ما تبغيش إلا طاح واحد فيهم I don't know حتى واحد ما يبقى خدام ولا شي حاجه in component in the middle طيح, like 1 millions of the users غادي ما يخدموش your service. And of course your service is complex, so we want to be tolerant to failures. واحد واحدة أخرى is we still want our service to be reliable. That's the main purpose أصلا. So ما يمكنش حنايا نلوزيو reliability غير because one machine مشات. And of course because our systems like are scaling, they can scale horizontally and vertically. ما نبغاوش فين ما نجيبو شي سيرفيس ولا فين ما نزيدو شي حاجه راه غادي يطيح لنا سيرفيس. So you want to be fault tolerant, and scale is basically contributes حتى complexity because you want reliability. like شي علاش like you want to be fault tolerant. High availability, we want to be highly available, which is also being reliable in some terms. Like if your service needs to be highly available, then you want to keep high availability even when some components fail. And as I said, in some like storage, for example, you want to still be consistent. ماشي حيت one node مشى you cannot serve anything, ولا حيت one node مشى your data غادي تمشي غتولي خاسرة. ماشي حيت like for example, supposedly it's a banking system, and if I remove like if I send someone money, if I add like مثلا like I send something from one account to another, if I remove one part من like خديت مثلا I don't know 100 euros من واحد من البنك بغيت نصيفط the other account, إلا مشات حيت I don't know at the time اللي أنا درت هذيك deduction from the account, لينك مشى ولا انترنت مشات ولا داك السيرفر مشى, ما نبغيش نلوزي داك my 100 euros. It either should stay in the first account ولا تمشي the other account. So this kind of like a way of saying like I want to be consistent. Khalil? خالد?
Yeah.
Yes.
Example يمكن كنت
Sorry?
سولت سؤال شحال هادي.
Yeah.
يجيني فيه سي اي بي 3 كاب ثيوري 3. شنو اللي ناقصه في بانكينج سيستم
Banking
تاع
systems.
يا.
So banking system. I personally think maybe someone can correct me. Is they try to be consistent, ولكن while being consistent they try to be very highly available. ماشي mean doesn't mean they are 100% available. يعني mean يقدر يساكريفايس ال availability باش يبقاو consistent ويغارديو partition tolerance.
اوكي سو
But it could depend because it depends on the alternate implementation. Because for example, if my bank نقدر نبقى نسيرفي غير بواحد البارتيه without having to care about يعني مثلا let's say بلي your bank account منين انت في المغرب الى المغرب ديكونيكتا مع فرنسا منين تمشي لفرنسا you will not have your money ولكن غيبقى في المغرب but غير يعني at that moment ما غيكونش your money available في فرنسا ياك ولكن although we have partition ديال system راه بقى الكونسيستنسي باقا you're not gonna have your money the same like the غيكون غير في المغرب ما يكونش في فرنسا but so do you see like in the end of the day you will have to pick either two usually you keep partition tolerance ما غتبغيش انت so الا ما بغيتش نعطيش لك زعما some information that is not consistent غيخصني ديك الساعات غيخصني نبقى consistent ونساكريفايسي الافيلابيليتي and vice versa and you can prove it. عبد الغافر.
Yeah, I just want to mention as the banking system. I think it's an overgeneralization. إذا قلنا بلي all the banking system is consistent ولا all of it is available.
Yeah.
Then the front end part could be available, like the one اللي you use it to perform light transactions. راه غادي يكونوا maybe the design decisions غادي يكونوا around availability.
Yes.
And maybe back end or the back office operations would be more consistent or would favor consistency. I think this is it's a bit generalized if we consider all the banking system to have one the tendency to be more consistent with available. It depends. It's a case by case صراحة ماشي.
Yes.
That's what I think.
Yeah. So is هادشي اللي قال عبد الغفار مقارنه like بالنسبه للبانكينج سيستمز but in general حتى كيف ما كان السيرفيس كتلقى بلي راه so suppose بلي بغينا نبقاو partition tolerance so either we want to be consistent meaning الى like we have to sacrifice real availability if we can't be consistent hit some parts of the system are not working we can't be consistent then you're not gonna be available because انت خصك تبقى consistent الا بغيتي تبقى very highly available you will have to sacrifice consistency which is exactly مثلا example اللي عطيتك like if you الا بغيتي تبقى available meaning you can use your bank account واخا تمشي لفرنسا ولكن لينك ما بين المغرب وفرنسا مشى غادي تمشي لفرنسا غتلقى راسك بلي you're available ولكن ماشي consistent because your money is not like ماشي the same amount of money خصهم غادي يجيو يديروا reconciliation maybe later الا بغيتي تبقى الا بغيتي تبقى very consistent غنجي غنقول لك لا اسمح لي we can't serve you because your bank account راه فيها information that we can't get because راه عندنا partition tolerance because we have a partition that's because you broke partition عندك السيستم اللي فيه two partitions is it clear شويه
yeah.
maybe we can like take a deep look into like cap theorem is gonna be more غتبان لك مزيان في especially في ملي غنشوفوا الكونسنسوس تقريبا شويه anyways so I will get you a small question which is like okay we want to keep fault tolerance how can we achieve this in a distributed system just throw your ideas. Either you can raise your hand if you want, or type it. Can someone say anything زعما باش نخليو fault tolerance? How can we? Okay, someone say the redundancy. Yes, redundancy, replication. We'll see like all of these. Replication. Anything else? Okay. Yeah. So like the first thing جوج الحوايج اللي قالوا الاول هما redundancy و replication. So yes, redundancy و replication are two ways of achieving fault tolerance. So for example مثلا like redundancy, I want to emphasize على redundancy و replication الفرق بيناتهم تقريبا شوية. So for example, if I have a bunch of servers that are serving clients, what I can do is have another redundant ninja redundancy server اللي يقدر يبقى غير on standby ما كيدير والو، غير جالس كيتسنى البرايمري سيرفر يشوفو ما خدامش ما doesn't behave correctly ويولي هو اللي كيسيرفي clients. This is what redundancy mean, when I can have as many as I want. And بالنسبة للreplication is mostly بالنسبة للداتا. So if you have a database, whenever you store something, you don't want to lose this database. غتكون واحد database واحدة أخرى in another server, maybe in another different machine, maybe in a different building, maybe in a different continent. Depends. So كي بغيتي دير ليها. And then whenever I store something in database, نبقى نحط backups, which someone mentioned, is it like having backups fault tolerance? Like you can achieve fault tolerance by having backups, meaning you do replication ماشي having backups, but yeah, it's sort of like having backups is part of, is بحال كتقول غيكونوا like replicated. Anwar said isolation, like containers, if one crashes then no conflicts are expected. Yes, that's one of the things I didn't want to go deep into, but that's one of the things اللي تقدر دير على fault tolerance. But you don't want مثلا أنا like to explain the idea ديال أنوار قال لك مثلا you will have different containers ولا microservices. That's true because ما غتبغيش مثلا one application صافي غير because it broke, like one application to break the machine and then affects other services. Yes, you can do that. Loose coupling, maybe here if you want to speak up about it. I don't know what you mean, what you want to say about loose coupling بالضبط.
زعما انه زعما لي سيرفيس ديالك حيت هو قال ميكرو سيرفيس زعما كيبانوا لي سيرفيس ديالك ما يكونش ديبوندون بعضياتهم.
Well, at some point they are going to be dependent, like غيكونوا dependencies, ولكن loose coupling can contribute into fault tolerance إلا بغيت. But it contributes to many other things more than fault tolerance in my opinion. But yeah, so at least is it clear about like redundancy and replication and the difference between them? تا واحد ما جاتوش like زعما شنو هي ال confusion between? Okay, I see someone hands up. Cool. So one of the reasons why I did say here one as in standby, it might have raised some question in some of you here. Why don't I just serve clients nishan? Which is something you can do. You can put a load balancer or proxy, and then instead of just having some server that is on standby, in some cases that's really like there is like that's the only solution. Or like in some cases where you can also serve data through the other servers, you can just have as many servers as you want, so you can be more إلا مشى واحد فيهم server 2 is down, I can still serve through server 1, and then I can just even distribute the load. If this one is serving like I don't know 1 million clients and this one is serving 50,000, I can just like distribute the load through these باش السيرفر يبقى highly available, for example. And dynamic scaling is also a very good thing باش تقدر تدير fault tolerance. Suppose you're running an application وعندك limit ديال 1 gigabyte of RAM. If you know your server can handle like 128 gigabytes of RAM, you can just scale up your server ولا your application inside the server. يعني دير is it vertical scaling inside of your application باش تولي كتخدم more RAM. That's it. And then if you see you can serve more requests because of the many servers you can just have automatic or dynamic scaling اللي يكون horizontal. ما عرفتش انا كنت horizontal مع vertical, horizontal I think. So for example this one can be just like in setup, and then once غادي يسالي setup ديالو it's gonna be able to serve data. Is this part clear? Any questions about this? No? cool. Yeah. So one of the other things we can do is checkpointing and rollbacks. So for example, if you have a database, you want to keep creating like بحال checkpoints. كل ساعة كندير واحد الباك اب كنستفتر واحد البارتية باش تبقى هكذا. Once my application is like goes down, I can recover from the last which is the rollback recovery. I can just like go back to the last version. And also you can apply this حتى your application itself. One of the things that I forgot to mention is fault tolerance. Sometimes you even want to be fault tolerant during updates. حنا كيكون عندنا services very complicated, so sometimes I just want to update my application. So for example here I can start by updating one of them. If I update all of them دقة واحدة I will just break up my service. So like otherwise what I can do is just like update one of them at a time. And then what about rollback and recovery? You can even have your multiple versions, and during a rollout if something happens you can just roll back automatically. So this can go back to rollback recovery as well. Although rollback recovery can go to checkpointing. Once your service مثلا ما بقاش خدام because of corruption or whatever, you can try to go back to the last checkpoint. Someone says like, what if not if we have a request and that's the server one with CPU, is there a way to redirect it to strong server? Yeah, of course. And yes, that's not a dumb question, that's a very good question. Actually that's what load balancers and proxies are for. That's why load balancers and proxies are really, in my opinion, sometimes like they are the first thing that you will add for distributed system once you start to grow. And proxies load balancers are usually very smart ولا كدير فيهم depending on the algorithm. كتجي تقدر دابا so for example I can redirect you can use weighted round robin. You can even say بلي شوف غادي نشوف memory CPU users ديال كل واحد فيهم, because the requests يقدر هذا كيابلودي فيديو ديال 10 ميجا, هذا كيابلودي فيديو ديال 1 جيجا بايت. So if you have 10 users that upload 1 جيجا بايت هنايا راه عندك 10 جيجا بايت, هذا غادي تعطيه 10 غيولي كيسيرفي غير like I don't know 10 megabytes. So it's not the same, so you will distribute the load depending on your service. So that's why we just say load balancer or a proxy, because it depends on the specifics of your system. You can use weighted round robin, or you can even have customized algorithms. But yes, so of course that's why we want to be fault tolerant, because as I said, imagine like you just redirect server like randomly, تقدر تعطي لهذا 10 ديال clients وهذا 5, ولا you can even serve مثلا هذا 10 ديال clients that are very busy وهذا فيه غير clients that are not busy, and then you will have to distribute the load. Going back to other ways of achieving fault tolerance, we have error detection. This is a very nice way. مثلا you get a request you can do an error checking or a checksum. Why? Because imagine بلي I send you واحد request اللي تقدر تكون corrupted ولا تقدر تكون غلطة. You don't want that to go through your system. You can do error detection if your system is really depending on that. Or you can even do error correction. You can do a checksum. تعرف بلي راه something happens ما عرفتش شي bit flip طرا while transferring that data هذه, and this happens all the time. You just do checksum. You can either reject it, you can either correct it, depending on your system. There's also graceful degradation in failover. For example, as I said, مثلا during a rollout, I don't want صافي نشد داك كاع الكلاينتس اللي كانوا كيهضروا معايا, imagine a million ولا 10,000 كيهضروا مع one server, صافي غنطفي داك السيرفر باش ندير لي ميزاجور. لا, غادي نقدر نجي ونقول بلي okay, I'm gonna stop serving any new requests once I am done with all the requests, which is, I think this is called a lame duck maybe mode. I think it's a very known concept. كتدخل lame duck mode, I will not serve any new requests once I am done with داكشي اللي I'm busy with. غادي نحبس, and by default the load balancer I'm gonna tell the load balancer or the proxy that hey, don't send me anything ولا أنا I'm done redirecting. And then once I am done نقدر ندير graceful shutdown. ولا imagine you want to send واحد machine for repair. That could also be a thing. Or if you see that your service is started to behave abnormally غادي دير graceful degradation. Or you can fail over to another service بحال the first example. If this one starts to behave ماشي واعدك, you can just go to the standby server. And by the way, you will see that here what we look for is try to automate as much as we can من هادشي هذا كامل. You just don't want to keep interfering with it yourself. This is what we call fault tolerance. ما غتبغيش فين ما طرا شي مشكل وشكل غتمشي تهاندلي yourself. Maybe you'll do that the first time and then you automate هذاك part here because you thought that had part here failing this way is gonna harm your server. غتautomate so you will have fault tolerance in your system. Another way of achieving this is distributed consistency algorithms. If you want to keep consistency, for example, during fault tolerance, you need a distributed consistency algorithm. So, and that's what we're going to look at in our next topic. So I'm going to pause here to get any questions regarding the last section, but move over to the following part because fault tolerance, we're mostly done with it. Are there any questions, concerns? You can either raise your hand. That would be much better for the recording as well because I'm not showing the messages. Anybody? Nizar said we good. كلشي كلير. دابا انا شاك في راسي واش صرحت في هادشي مزيان كاع على الدرجه ما كنظنش. Okay, cool. Almost. So, okay, awesome, clear. I can still get questions in the end في الآخر. Cool set. So I can still get any questions and don't hesitate to say anything. Nothing is dumb. Nothing is just means بلي شي حاجة ماشي clear. Okay, so we're gonna get to the next topic which is consensus. Okay, consensus is واحد concept important as I said distributed systems. Simply we're supposed مثلا عندنا like bunch of people friends خارجين باش ياخذوا كوفي ولا تي. How would they decide واش غياخذوا كوفي ولا تي? Supposedly they want just to make a decision. بغاو غير make a decision. واش يديروا تي واش ياخذوا كوفي. Here for example صافي جاو لقاو داروا هنايا مثلا ماجوريتي اللي حنايا 3 ولا بيكوز حنايا رجال غادي نمشيو ناخذوا كوفي. So خداو كوفي. But in distributed systems this is like this is more complicated than just saying so. And reasons why this is the case is because as I said like failures هذا يقول لهم هذا يقدر يقول لهم let's have coffee ولا هذا قال لهم I vote for coffee إلا ما suppose بلي ما سمعوش let's say بلي communication something kind of في pub or something and then ما سمعوش then غيوليو تي جوج قالوا تي جوج كوفي كي غنديروا decision هنايا بقينا هنايا بقاو المرة الجاية same thing happened ولا the other one ما سمعوش. So these are the things that can happen in المهم that thing ماشي في الباب. Anyways, so why do we want to have a consensus anyways? Yeah. So what we want is to provide one mechanism automatically to achieve consensus. بعبارة أخرى بس مش بقى عندنا strong consistency. This is like one of the big reasons why we want consistency. But امتى باش نخليو partition tolerance. So واخا يطرا لنا شي partition tolerance واخا يطرا لنا شي partition we want to be tolerant لهذيك partition and we still want to have very strong consistency. هادشي فين كيجيونا like where consensus algorithms are widely used. And of course they try to maintain واحد high availability. As I said, the consensus algorithms are really good for managing like a trade-off between achieving consistency or partition tolerance. وكيخليو شويه availability. So once you ملي كتكون عندك partition ديك الساعات you can choose. You like by default consensus algorithms كيعرفوا بلي عندك partition tolerance partition by default عندك partition اللي you can't sustain يعني you can't advance your system في هذا الوقع هذا او لا you can advance واخا واحد النص ديال النودز راهم خدامين مثلا. So let's see مثلا let's take I'm gonna try to be a little bit interactive here and I'm gonna need your help. Just raise your hand ولا type it. So let's say بغينا نديرو واحد storage system يعني مثلا واحد state machine or like state machine or whatever اللي بغيناها تبقى very consistent. Let's try to design it ولكن let's start from the simplest solution ever. Don't be very smart, don't be just straightforward. Like let's apply Yagni. You ain't gonna need it. إلا ما حتى شي حاجة تنشوفوا واش غنحتاجوها ولا لا. How will you do that? Just start by telling me like how will you do it? For example, let's start with something basic. Can someone speak up or raise their hand? ولا غنسلكسيوني شي واحد.
شرح لينا اكثر شنو مطلوب.
واخا. So we want to بغينا نصايبوا واحد system. ياك we can suppose باللي it's a key value store, okay? شنو كندير فيه؟ كندير ليه put بحال ما hash map ولكن it's a this like it's a system ماشي it's not just a service اللي غندير فيه put key value ولا get key. مثلا غندير put عزوز غتعطيك واحد value, get عزوز غتعطيك the latest value, and what we want is to be very consistent. بغينا نبقاو consistent meaning الا جيت انا درت دابا put عزوز واحد وجا شي واحد قرا من ورايا خصو يقرا واحد. if I did put عزوز جوج غادي يقرا اخر واحد غيقرا من ورايا خصو يقرا جوج. how can we do that?
when you're writing خاصنا نبلوكيو الاكسس لكاع الناس الاخرين يعني nobody should be able to do anything حتى تسالي.
okay but okay so you're saying I will have a hash map اللي غادي نكون على access blocked ياك. احمد is raising his hand.
المهم اي ثينك في هذا الاكزرسايز نستارتيو بفكره غبيه ياك ماشي غبيه. المهم نستارتيو بالبيزيك ثينكس كاع. نقدر انا غندير مثلا الكونتنت اللي قلتي لي اللي هو الفاليو غادي نقاد واحد غادي نبدا نكتب فايل ياك نستوري الفايل هو ديك الكي الفايل نيم هو الكي والكونتنت ديالو هو الفاليو صافي. غندير بوت فهمتي ونحط الكونتنت والا بغيت نرجع لك الكونتنت غادي نقرا الفايل.
yes that also work. عندنا one server خدام كيف ما it doesn't matter the implementation. we can keep it in memory, we can do file براسك غدير ليها but you will have one single node اللي كيدير هاد الخدمه هادي. that's the easiest solution. that I thought as well غادي يقول let's use blockchain. but anyways so do you see that we have one single server that does everything. now غادي نرجعوا للكورس ديالنا. if that server goes down ما بقى عندي لا availability لا consistency لا partition tolerance service ديالي مابقاش خدام صافي غادي نشد درت فايت ومشيت صافي غادي نمشي نحل المحلاب. how can you resolve this issue? because احنا قلنا دابا انا ما بقيتش fault tolerance طفى هذاك ما بقيتش fault tolerance. I want to someone said multiple servers. what I can do is either choose replication or redundancy. which one do you think I should choose in this case for the example هذا? someone can speak up ولا كتب. by the way it would be better if you speak up.
replication.
replication because in this example we are mostly concerned with storage. good. so now suppose باللي دابا هنا درنا replication. how am I going to keep synchronization دابا ما بين هاد الجوج هادو؟ محمد
مثلا فهمتي وان وايز كل شويه ديال الوقت ليتس سي كل انترفال كتشوف الديفرنس ما بين دوك جوج و كتصيفط مثلا ديك السكندري ولا الريبليكا واتس نيدد.
okay suppose باللي the primary database خدامه طاح لك اللينك the link for 2 hours. So we don't have any replication في هذا المومنت هذا. Okay, and then I don't know, once هذا طلع بقى خدام ما عرفتش هذا يلا جي صيفط ليه الباك اب overloaded طاح your service مشى and you're not up and running. خصك تدير reconciliation and everything ولكن the link مشى and then مشى to the server. What are you going to do? Is it raised hand حمزة؟
هذيك برايمري داتابيز يكون ديجا عندها اللوغ ديال شنو وقع في ديك الساعتين اللي كان داخل الطريق.
كمل.
and then once the replica تتعاود تكون up and running يصيفط لها اللوغز شنو وقع في ديك الساعتين وتعاود تريبليكا في الداتابيز.
Yeah, so I said بلي the moment اللي ريبليكا رجعت هذا برايمري طاح. So دابا كاع ديك ستورج اللي سوغارديتي نتايا كاع داكشي اللي درتي in 2 hours مشى. Because ما ريبليكيتيهش كامل ولا غير part of it.
ولكن ديما
بقيتيش consistent.
بارتي في برايمري.
نعم.
حيت الاخر فاش يطلع الريبليكا برايمري غادي يطيح.
يا باقي ما صيفطش ليه الباك اب. دابا البرايمري هو اللي كان سيرفي ريكويست في الاول and then suddenly ما بقاش عنده اللينك and it could also be like once واحد لقيت هذا طلع و started to connect to your server. Yeah, then قال لك can we have a replica to the log? Well, wherever you store هذاك اللوج you will have to do the same thing. either غادي دير ليه replication ياك what if the link اللي غتبقى تصيفط به لي replication ديال اللوج ديالك مشى. So you can't keep replication. Besides that, as I said, like sometimes your service can even جيو تكونيكت عليك هذا مع your secondary server يقول لي راه اخويا البرايمري database ما خداماش because هو كيسحب راسو راه غير البرايمري اللي مابقاتش خدامه وشي يبدا يخدم هنا وشي يبدا يخدم هنايا. Let's think of a way how we can do this. حمد.
اوكي كاينين two things اللي I can think of. one of them فهمتي الا جاتك اي انتري you either مثلا قبل ما تكوميتي الداتابيز يو كوميت تو بود او لا مثلا غتمينتيني واحد اللوغ ياك غتمينتيني واحد اللوغ اللي يكون ان باراليل اللي كيستوري غير الاوبريشنز اللي داروا and everything then قبل ما تفايناليزي مثلا let's call it even a transaction قبل ما تفايناليز ترانزاكشن خص تفايناليزا فيهم كاملين بجوج او لا دير رول باك.
اوكي again غنسولك what happens if your replica is down وهذا غيقول بلي انا خصني ضروري ندير خصو يكون ضروري خصو يدير synchronization otherwise it's not gonna happen.
هادي قلت لك تو ثينكس يا اما فهمتي يا اما تبدا دير الكوميت في البرايمري بوحدو وتكيبي واحد اللوغ للسكندري وداك السكندري ملي غيسينكي معاه فهمتي او لا تريبلي فهمتي او لا في السكند كيس تكوميتي فيهم بجوج. I could take two things I can think of that.
Anyways, ولكن راه نقدر نقول لك what if your primary goes down then خصك تمشي للريبليكا داتابيز انت هي كنتي مكونفيغور your servers to talk about this. We can think about
الحوز عندك واحد انت يلاه طلع على اخر.
No غنقول لك دابا كانوا خدامين you have one اللي كتصيفط ليه الريكويست ديالك to save and the other ones are just for replicating data.
مشى
so we can do واحد اللعيبه هي I don't know leader يكون واحد هو leader الاخرين followers and you can even do replicas يبقاو يسيرفيو الريدز ديك الساعه دبر راسك واش بغيتي دير highly like strong consistency meaning commit حتى دوز الريبليكاز هاد سوفغاردا هاد كوميتا او لا you can also do very like a weak like a consistency at some point eventual consistency at some point توصل للريبليكا and you can serve the data so واحد leader واخد followers and then I'm gonna be like okay now how would you set up leadership كي غدير هاد leadership شكون باش نعرفوا حنا leader. The leader goes down. Yeah, let's go to sketchpad. That's nice to have. So great. So as I said, we have multiple servers. We have, I don't know, replicas, and then as I said, they communicate with each other. The idea that I said is that this one is leader and these are followers. So if I have a client here, I can just do what's called هادو كاملين they can do reads. And then هذا غادي يجي غيديروا رايت وهذا خصو يصيفط لهم updates. Hey, this is like the latest write. But then غنقول لك زعما how would we choose this leader? So we can either say مثلا like this one has the highest IP or has the highest numbers. Choose بيناتهم. And now غنقول لك suppose I have more than 3, you have 4 or 5. They are also connected with each other. I think should be doing this and this. These links, I don't know how to. Okay, let's go back. ترى هذا البلان هذا. I have a partition هنايا. So reads go through this one. What would happen here? عندنا partition. Technically هنايا خصك هاد البارتي هادو كاع اللي كيهضروا مع هادو تمشي لهم availability. If you want to stay consistent. هذا يقدر يبداو يديروا leadership. So you can see that there are a lot of problems. That comes غير باش نخليو الكونسيستنسي وباش نكونوا باش نتفقوا يتفاهموا مع بعضياتهم شكون هو الليدر. Like this can be more complicated. And thus we have like consensus algorithms. Okay, so I don't have. Maybe did I remove it? Yeah. So consensus algorithms كاينين 3 تقريبا اللي معروفين that I know of. كاينه Paxos. Paxos is an algorithm that uses two phases ديال voting باش غير يتفقوا على the first value. Let's not go into the details there. Like in a Raft, which is more user friendly. In fact, it was implemented because Paxos was too complex to understand Aslan. So it was like mostly simpler to understand. And there is also practical Byzantine fault tolerance, which is mostly used for blockchains. We're not going to talk about that. And now I mentioned one word that is very, very important here, which is had Byzantine faults. Okay, شنو هما Byzantine faults? We know قلنا بلي يقدروا يطراو faults ولكن ما الفولتس اللي هضرنا عليهم هو يقدر يكون لينك مشى طفات شي حاجه. But كاينين some faults as well where your replica يقدر يكون compromised. حمد هاكا لك اخويا السيرفر شنو كدير ليها دابا؟ انستاليت فيها تماك بلوكشين عندك ما دير راه كاع كيماينين لك شو سميتو بيتكوين صافي كيبقى يقدر يجي يبدا لا كيلعب بالسيرفر لايك بيور ريبليكاس and he can even achieve يقدر بحال قلنا بلوكشين you can just add a transaction to the system. I can do whatever I want because I هاد kind of faults هادو كيتسماو Byzantine faults ولا ability to tolerate هاد الفولتس هادو واخا يكون شنو ما كان فهادشي هذا كامل واخا يجي such cases I'm tolerant to the such faults هذا كيتسمى Byzantine fault tolerance. non Byzantine fault tolerance هي fault tolerance ولكن في اي حاجه من غير ريبليكات. يعني يقدر يكون عندنا حنا عارفين كيفاش غادي يقدر يكراشي سيرفيس يقدر يمشيو يعني كراشز يقدروا يكونوا ما يقدروش يبقاو يسيطوا ريسبونس يقدروا ما يبقاوش يسيطوا ميساجز ولكن وي نو بلي they will talk to us غادي يكومونيكيو معايا بان certain way. عارفهم حتى يهضروا معايا يا ما غيهضرش معايا ولا غيهضر معايا بواحد الطريقه ما غيمكنش يكون شوي arbitrary behavior يجي يصيفط لك واحد الريكويست ما كانش خصو يصيفطها لك خصو يصيفط لك واحد الريكويست ولا هادي ما خصوش تكون في واحد ستيج ما خصوش تكون هذا هو اللي كيتسمى non Byzantine fault tolerance. So if we go back to the algorithms اللي قلنا Paxos Raft are non Byzantine fault tolerance. Practical Byzantine fault tolerance algorithm is the other part اللي كتحطك في Byzantine fault tolerance. And if I understand correctly, blockchain are designed باش انه يكون عندك Byzantine fault tolerance. So واخا يجي شي واحد يبغي يكوميتي شي حاجه into the blockchain, maybe it's not gonna work. That's the way things are designed. Maybe that's the basics ديال blockchain, but I don't know much about it. I think هاد البارت هي شويه كانت complex, so I will rely on questions باش نكملوا من هنا. I know I still didn't explain how a consensus algorithm solve all the questions, but that's the need of a consensus algorithm. Otherwise you will فيما غيطرا شي problem السيرفر ديال السيرفيس ديالك you will have to interfere manually. You don't want that. You want to automatically do that, and by default the consensus algorithms are designed باش تقدر دير هاد الشيء هذا كامل. Like everyone is gonna guarantee, you're guaranteed to have a decision. واخا هذا ما يسمعوش ولا هادو يكونوا كيهضروا مع بعضياتهم وهادو ما كيهضروش, you can still make a decision. Unless of course in some cases where على حسب design الالغوريثم, like مثلا if these talk وهذا بوحده وهادو جوج بوحدهم, then what you're gonna do is not make a decision. That's what consensus algorithm does. And usually they use quorum based approaches, but let's go back to stuff. Any questions about هذا البارت هذا باش نقدروا ندوزوا لل next part, especially the Byzantine and non-Byzantine parts. Questions? All good? Really? Okay. So I will take a little bit of time just to go through Raft. I'm not gonna explain it very well. I'm not gonna explain all the concepts. I'm just gonna give you an illustration of how it might work to solve all the issues. So as I say that it's considered like مقارنة مع Paxos, it's like that's considered to be hard to understand. In my personal opinion, I think Paxos is better. But that also depends on whoever wants to implement the service. I don't think they have 100% all the guaranteed. Yes, I am biased, but it's because I've read Paxos. It is complex. I still don't understand it, Kamil, and I don't think I will be able to implement it, but in a short time. But I still prefer it. واحد الحاجة اللي زوينة about Raft is by default الفرق ما بين Paxos و Raft is that Paxos is just like one round تقريبا, and then you will have to add a lot of things on top of it باش يلا to make it good for a production thing, مثلا to implement a key value store, while Raft by default عندها الديزاين ديال multi rounds هي دايرة هكاك by design. So in Raft it can be narrowed into two states اللي كيكون فيهم service ديالك ولا 3 states. Let's say we just started the service, قلنا باللي في الاول we're just gonna start them. We're just gonna start I have واحد thing that does illustration. Okay, let me know if you want me to zoom in أكثر.
zoom in.
Yes. Is this enough? I hope so. Okay, so as I said حنايا ما بغيناش نرانيو one server, بغينا نرانيو multiple. Ideally you want to run an odd number for many reasons, and proof left to the reader for exercise. So شنو قلنا, we have multiple nodes. What we want them is just to agree. So what we're gonna do is كل node غيقدر يكون عنده 3 ديال states. Either is gonna be a follower, ياك, either is gonna be a candidate, it is going to be the leader. What we want is all the rights goes through the leader. Whenever we want to insert something into our service, كيدوز عليه leader. If we don't have a leader, كندير well. That's why hence we sacrifice availability في ذاك المومنت. So حيت بغينا نبقاو consistent. So the leader هو اللي كيدير كل شيء. And you can read through the others any time you want depending on كيفاش بغيتي الconsistency. If you want strong consistency you read through the leader. I think if you want eventual consistency you read through the followers or candidates. Anyways, in theory you can read through all the nodes. So everyone starts with the follower state. من بعد شنو كيديروا كيدوز واحد تايم اوت، كندير واحد تايمر يقدر يكون راندوم between the nodes. ملي كيسالي داك الوقت الا ما جاتني شي انفورميشن من عند الليدر، حتى الليدر ما قال لي بلي انا ليدر، I will become a candidate. بحال غنترشح ما عندناش نقدم، غنترشح انايا. Times منين كنكون في candidate stage, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna propose myself للناس other nodes. So this is exactly what's gonna happen here. So let's take a look at this thing here. So we have واحد timer here على كل واحد فيهم. You can see. And then once the timer goes down, you can see maybe N5 هو اللي غادي الأولاني. شنو دار هذا is gonna become a candidate. And what it's gonna do is gonna say بلي أنايا I'm a candidate ID N5. I have واحد الحاجة سميتها terms. Everything is a term. في Raft it's the first term. يعني بحال كتقول حنايا أول مرة غنديرو ترشح في السيستم. So غادي يجي غيبروبوزي راسو على كل شيء. It could be like at the same time I can even do هادي حتى هو غادي يدير أنا بغيت نكون candidate. Yeah. What's gonna happen is ملي غتوصل عند الآخرين كلهم غادي يصيفطوا ريسبونس. هذا غايقول لي بلي أنا I vote for you because وصلتني قبل ما يسالي التايمر. أنا I vote for you. This one is gonna vote for him. Vote granted. This one is gonna vote for him. So he has 3. And this one is also gonna say بلي no أنا راه كنفوتي على راسي. Okay. So what's gonna happen here is that هذا غيوصل ليه 5 غادي يقول لي لا أنا راه كنفوتي على راسي. Vote granted false. And then غادي يوصلوا 4 ديال الريسبونسز، 3 فيهم كيقولوا ليه your vote is granted، واحد تيقول لي your vote is not granted. With himself we have a majority. So now let's go back to define شنو هي majority. So sketchpad. So like if we go back to the example here, إلا عندك هنايا 5 3 are the majority. So if you just request من 2 مع راسك وبجوجهم متفقوا معاك، الا كان هذا جارانتيد ما عمره غيعطي الفوت، قال لك بحال انا صافي راه كنفوتي عليك، ما عمري غنعطي الفوت لشي واحد اخر. that means بلي اي واحد ما يمكنش تجي تلقى بلي هذا راه كاين مع هذا وكاين مع هذا، تلقاه مع هذا. therefore you will always have either group ديال ماجوريتي ولا ما غيكونش عندك جروب الماجوريتي. ملي تيكون عندك جروب غيكون عندك جروب واحد الماجوريتي، ما يمكنش يكون عندك جوج جروب الماجوريتي او بلس. therefore هذا وهذا 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 كاملين كيفورميو ماجوريتي، هذا ماشي معاهم في الماجوريتي، باقي كيسحب راسو راه انايا باغي نترشح. And then since you have more than n plus 1 over 2, that's why more than half, which is the majority ديالك في هذا لوكا ديالنا حنا 3، then you can become a leader. So now you can see that this one has become a leader. وكيقول لهم انا راه صافي راني leader. اوكي هذا باقي كيصيفط ليه بروبوزل للاخرين and you can see بلي راه غيوصلوه rejections, but once وصلاتو بلي راني leader he acknowledged it. صافي term has been successful. So if we keep running our service, this is what's gonna happen. غيبقى يصيفط لهم كل شيء. So let's take an example where this node is gonna go down. Okay هذا اللي كان leader مشى. Now again the timers اللي كاينين في السيرفرز الاخرين n1 سالي لي تايمر، ما بقاش انا نسمع من عند الليدر، غادي نمشي نترشح and then he formed the majority. I can even do هاد اللعيبه هادي هكا and then n1 تا هو مشى. After a while هادو غيديروا majority. But if I do n2 هكا هذا can still work just because كان عندنا ديجا leader. But if I do this and then ملي غيعاودوا يديروا election المره الجايه they will become بجوجهم as candidates. هنايا because we can't form majority السيرفيس ديالك ما بقاش available. This is where a service doesn't work. ولكن because عندك partition tolerance ماشي هنا we didn't do partitioning because of the ما حيدناش links, but once I do bring 2 back ولا 1 back I think so they can form a majority because 3 يقدروا form a majority 2 لا. I can bring the others. I can do this. شنو غندير؟ كاع اللينكس ديال 4 غنحيدهم ما عدا ديال مع 5 وكاع اللينكس ديال wait did I do هذا؟ no نحيد هذا وهذا وهذا. سو بقى عندي اللينكين ما بين 4 و 5 ما بقاش عندي لينك مع الاخرين. So here I have n1 n1 n2 n3 are together but n4 n5 لينكها بعضياتهم كيهضروا مع بعضياتهم. They are not going to be able to form a quorum the same way. So اي ريد على هذا غادي يجي غيقول لي لا انا ما نقدرش نسيرفي لك ولا غنسيرفي لك الداتا قديمه and then through this منين تهضر مع هاد الثلاثه هادو you can still work. This is how تقريبا partition tolerance work. If I bring back هاد اللينك هذا N4 is ready and is participation in ولكن هذا مازال ما جاش. If I link this one with N1 I think it's gonna work maybe. Yes. Yeah, he won the election by the way. And one of the other things that happens in Raft is that you can just like you can add logs. بحال I insert something. Here it says بلي حنا في term 12 and then I insert logs. The service can keep running. What happened here is حيت عندي ديك links كاملين خربقتوا هاد الشيء هذا. Anyways, so N2 is the leader. I can only insert N2 and then you can see بلي راه N2 عنده انصراط 13 but N4 N5 kind of partition. So what's gonna happen here is that they omit داكشي كامل اللي عندهم because كان سيستم مخربق تقول 13 is the latest and is the most consistent one. So dropping داكشي I can do N4 here and then what it's gonna do is next time it's gonna send them بلي راه عندي 13 and then it's gonna commit it here like N2 commit it and then the others are gonna commit it. So this is kind of like how Raft work. I know it's a little bit complicated ولكن do you see the point there? I have a leader. I will keep electing leader. If I don't have a leader ما غاديش نبقى نكوميتي حتى شي حاجه. And if I remove this one, you can see بلي I can't add anything into the insertion is not. Maybe I can still serve reads ولكن هذوك reads راهم ماشي consistent. هذيك تسمى not strong consistency, eventual consistency ماشي eventual consistency but weak consistency. I hope كانت شوية clear. Do you have any questions? I didn't want to. Isn't the node with shorter time always be leader or win votes? So هذيك shorter time. That's one of the things اللي كانوا عندك كاملين. By the way, كاملين عندهم the same time. Yeah. Then it's by coincidence اللي يقدروا يوصلوا هذاك ما تنساش بلي راه عندك latency ديال يعني واخا يكونوا عندهم the same sort هذاك التايم اوت واخا يكون عندهم the same واخا يصيفطوا at the same time. الوقت اللي غتاخذ ريكويست باش توصل من N1 N3 ماشي هي الوقت اللي غتاخذ من N1 N2. داكشي فاش كتولي شويه ديال yes it can delay شويه rounds ولكن most of the time ما كيوصلوش في الوقت because of latency. وحتى البروسيسين ديال كل ماشين ما غيكونش 100% the same ديال كل واحد ديال the other machines. Otherwise you can even set random times ما بين مثلا let's say ما بين 50 seconds 50 ملي seconds ولا 50 ملي seconds ولا 50 seconds كاع ديال ليز ما بين nodes ولكن هادشي can have an implication on your service meaning الا ما جاوبش 50 second you need at least واحد 50 second واحده اخرى باش انك ترجع الكورم but 50 second like in 50 milli seconds ما جاوبنيش الاخرى تقول لي ما بين اي فاليو ما بين 50 و 60 is okay and then you generate randomly. انت ما كتسوقكش اين واحد فيهم اللي ديما غادي ياخذ. what we want is واخا هذاك عنده shorter time ماشي ديما هو اللي غادي ياخذ leadership. نقدر نكونوا ما شعلناش قبل فهمتي واخا عنده shorter time. Do you see the point الغالي؟ Any questions? Is this clear الغالي ولا do you have more questions? Yes, but if we have if we have a malicious node and he puts times to 0 and or very low, so he be the leader most times. So هنا غنرجعوا لواحد البارتي يعني هي اللي قلنا عليها قلتها قبيلات. So I said بلي Paxos Raft are not non-Byzantine fault tolerant. meaning your servers are all the same تقريبا فهمتي داير like ماشي داير malicious ما بقيناش في بايزنتين مود you can compromise واحد الرافت ولا تقدر دير فيها شي حاجه I can insert واحد النود اللي يبقى يكون عنده زيرو يبقى ديما هو يويني تايم maybe most of the time ولكن ما تنساش راه he needs to فاش هضرت على terms الا شي واحد الا النود قلت لك باقي قديم كيعقل على بلي راه هو في تيرم 5 بيكوز دازو بزاف ديال الراوندز من وراه ملي غادي يجي يدير بروبوزل حتى واحد ما غيغرانتي ليه الفوت ديالو علاش بيكوز they know the highest term is 15 هو عنده تيرم 10 so he's not supposed to be leader غيعرف بلي كاين ليدر عنده تيرم 15 غيولي ليدر so that's it but if it's malicious it's trying to compromise your service it can حيت Raft is not non-Byzantine fault tolerant and hence so that's one of the suppositions اللي كيديروهم Raft و Paxos تيقول لك بلي راه they need to behave in a certain way you can set it to zero but ما تنساش بلي راه قلت لك واخا تسيتي كلشي لزيرو كتبقى الليتنسي ديال your communication حاجه واحده اخرى when you set a time out ديال زيرو واحد يلا غادي يلا غايقول بلي راه لقيت ليدر غيحاول يولي ليدر علاش بيكوز يلا داز 0 سكندز باقي حتى الاخر ما جاوبنيش على اكنوليجمنت ولا صيفط ليا شي هذاك هارت بيت ديال انا كيقول لك انا راه باقي حي كيقول لي زعما الليدر كيبقى يقول لهم ديما انا راه باقي حي هنايا you can see it here maybe so you can see كل شويه كيصيفطوا كيكون عنده واحد شورتر هذاك التايم اوت كيكون عنده شورتر ديال التايم اوت ديال الاخرين ان فوا كيوصلوا كيريزيتيو تايم اوت ديالو كيقول لي صافي راه الليدر باقي حي and then we can continue with M3 being the leader otherwise درتي زيرو يلا غدوز 0 ملي سكند باقي الاخر ما صيفطلكش غير التايم باش توصل لك داك لي سي 1 مايكرو سكند كاع باش دوز اللينك ما وصلاتش then you're gonna suppose بلي we need a new leader وغتخربق السيرفيس ديالك that's why the time should be stricter than zero do servers choose their own intervals that depends on the implementation اللي بغيتي انت في Raft technically you can set it either random ولا you can set واحد certain value مثلا هذا الليز هذا اللي قلت لك ديال كل ليدر شحال هذا باش يصيفط انا راه باقي حي يعني ماشي بالضروره نكون انسيرينا فيه شي حاجه باش يصيفطها لهم يكوميتيوها يقدر غير يكون انا خصني انا باقي حي السيرفيس ديالك باقي يلاه نونسينا باقي ما كيوصلوش ريكويست خصو يبقى يكيبي هارت بيتس مع the other service if he chooses واحد الانترفال اللي كبر من تايم اوت ديال هادو باش كبر من تايم اوت ديال the others هو يلا غيجي يقول لهم انا راه باقي ليدر ياك بحال I don't know راه بحال الا جينا وحيدنا L3 حيدنا ليه كلشي مع كلشي واخا سالا تايم اوت ما قدرش يصيفط لهم يعني بحال سيبوزا بلي راه تايم اوت ديالهم سالا انت انا واخا نرد اللينكس ياك ويقدر يصيفط تيرمز ولكن الاخرين غادي يديروا الكشن and whenever كتكون نيو الكشن كيعقلوا على the highest term وكيكملوا به كي انكريزيو so yes they can choose their own you can set it manually you can set it as a parameter ولكن you have to keep these kind of like implementation details in mind is it clear مهدي والغالي about the answers اللي عطيتكم cool any other questions Jerry so I know it's a little bit hard to follow on all of this so I kept واحد شوية أنا الأبندix ثم like basically the original paper ديال Paxos which is complicated and then Leslie wrote another paper that's called like Paxos Made Simple which explains it and it's still more like very complicated to read and then there is the Raft paper and of course there is this blog post that Mehdi wrote a long time ago that explains a little bit Paxos Raft so you can feel free to read it otherwise and personally I would suggest that you read Paxos Made Simple you don't have to go through this and I'd say that you can read this or you can go through the let me do one other thing which is the simulator sorry So any other questions at
لا بغيت نقول لك بدلوا راه في سيميليتر.
Yes. Any questions? I can stop presenting so I can see this more clearly هنايا. Questions, please. So دابا كلشي يقدر يامبليمونتي كي فاليو ستور. This is kidding.
More or less.
Yeah, well, technically you can just do Raft or Paxos and then you can read it. But that's at least is the part, because I said the Paxos is or like consensus algorithms are also there to achieve to help full fault tolerance. Does it look more clear now? How does it achieve fault tolerance? Because as I said, fault tolerance هي تاخذ النوز ولا تاخذ أي حاجة and then you can so is it clear?
Yes.
Awesome. Please ask questions. Just give me 1 second to open the door and I will be back. Meanwhile, in the meantime, there is Mehdi to answer questions.
الله بغيت نسولو والو.
نحبس الريكوردين بعدا.
صور دابا النميمة ديالنا تطلع في الريكوردين.
So we'll stop the recording, I guess.
واش طبيتي الريكوردين بعدا؟